So the Lord be with you this day, and I'm delighted to be spending the next short while with you on this bench on a very mild day in the calm after the storm. We've had high winds across our country this week. I look forward to sharing with you a particular answer to a prayer that I uttered during the week and an image that was given to me, and I've kind of I've named this particular online after that very image, but more about that in a short while. First and foremost, as always, to the sound of Creek the Crow, we pause for a moment in prayer. We all have our own prayers that we pray to God for other people and also for ourselves. As we journey through life, I firmly believe that there are things that we have adopted, and we've spoken about these things many times in this square, but things that served us well once, perhaps as a child, and no longer serve us anymore. And in actual fact, the opposite might happen. They may become a way of being that we become so accustomed to that we don't see that we are stuck and we're not progressing onwards. So quite often, if I wake in the wee small hours of the morning and I've prayed for other people that might be on my mind, I'll always utter a prayer to God. God, please make me my authentic self. Because in that prayer, I thought that God would make me exactly who I am and would begin to shed the armour that I have placed around myself in order to get by, maybe, in my life thus far. But the other night when I woke, I prayed a slightly different prayer. It was the Saturday into the Sunday morning. And I said, God, instead of make me my authentic self, make me my full self. And that little word full, although it's a small word, has enormous connotations. And I wondered to myself, what would my full self look like? And I was given an image of a statue, and I'm going to say a bit like the Oscar trophy, except it was silver. It was this figure, like a human form. But as I was explaining to those in fellowship there recently, it was muscular, but without the definition of male or female. And it was smooth without the definition of facial features. It was silver and it was gleaming. And I recognised it as being my own soul. And that's not to say just my soul, but every person's soul. And it stood simply and without apology, and it shone. I thought nothing more of it and fell back asleep again. And yet the next morning, when I entered our second church in Powerscourt, what came to mind was something that I have found very hard to do as a leader of services in the church. A little voice said to me when I walked into Powerscourt, "Hold the silences today." And I looked down and I saw the faces of many younger generation there as well. And I thought, goodness, isn't this a magnificent setting for them to be afforded a small moment of time in their very busy lives to sit in the peace and the grace of God? And so that's what we did. I opened up little pockets of time for people in the penitence, in the sermon, and in the prayers that followed, and asked them to believe that God is talking to them through their thoughts, everything that's good and true and honourable and noble, all these good thoughts that come in, that somewhere along the line they stop and God begins. And what was God saying to them that day? Now, the significance of this was not just the silences that were afforded to the people who were there, who benefited from them, but it was also the change that occurred within myself. Because it is difficult to leave those silences, and it requires a certain amount of courage to hold the silences when they are created. And yet, for the first time in my relatively short career as a clergy person, there wasn't one modicum of fear. Perhaps, I thought to myself on reflection afterwards, I was standing in my silver. As I explained my dream, or the image that was given to me during the night to my son later on that day, I also explained the silver figure that I had seen and the knock-on effects in myself when I shed some of the armour and I removed some of the fear. And I described it to him as standing in silver. So that silver figure that I had the image of. And he's, being a musician, said to me, "Wow, Mum, that's a great title for a song." And we laughed about it. But I said, from now on, I'm going to call it Standing in Silver. Stand in your silver. What would your life look like if God gave you the grace, which He can do and which He has done, to actually stand in your silver? To stand without the armour that you have placed around yourself for a multitude of different reasons. Because it occurred to me that if I could only stand in my silver, I could serve God so much better in the capacity I hold in this place. Audience.